Doing, Jordan? Good. Chilling in your old town city, huh? For a weekend. Okay. Week 2 here, I guess. I'm sure you guys saw the news. Star and Jaden are going to go to IR. Star will not be back this year. Jaden will have a possibility. He's going to miss some time, but has a possibility to possibly come back. So, feel awful and bad for those guys. Obviously talked to both of them. These guys go through a lot and put a lot in, and it's a tough break. But they'll do everything they can do to get back, and they will be both of them will be back at some point, and we'll move on. So, with that, give me some questions.
Coach, those non-contact injuries like that have to be brutal, right, for a player and for you.
Yeah. I mean, they happen. You know what I mean? So, however you slice it, I always say, like, football training camp during the season, like it's a known unknown. There's going to be guys that get hurt. You don't know who and don't know what. And all 32 teams deal with it. So, like I said, they'll move forward and we'll move forward.
How do you think the room is built to handle that?
Good. There's been big-time competition in that room. I like where the room's trending. I think they're doing a good job, and it's only going to increase right now. You know what I mean? So, obviously, that the business side of it opens up a spot because Star was going to be on this team. He's played a lot of good football for us. So, we're just going to have to develop our guys. Guys are going to have to step up.
With Star being an undrafted guy who had carved out a really major role for himself, and a guy who hasn't had that big payday yet, I guess, what is the emotional side of that?
Yeah, it's probably the worst part of my job when you talk to him.
You're now down both starters from last year. What does that do to a room in terms of, obviously you're lacking experience, but what kind of opportunities, what kind of clean slates of those other guys to?
For those guys, you could ask them. Their mindset really doesn't change. You know what I mean? Obviously, you're human. You feel bad about your teammate, but you also know that there's opportunity there too.
Can you say what Jaden Herder is dealing with?
He's got a knee.
In your conversations with Elijah Jones, from last year through the entire off season, what do you think he was able to learn from last year, still being with the team, even though he didn't play?
Yeah, learn how to be a pro, honestly. A big thing for him with me was just his lifestyle habits, meaning, it's hard for him to keep on weight, so he had to change his diet. He's got to be consistent with that. That's hard for a lot of guys, you know what I mean? So he's done a really good job with that. He's more along with the playbook than he was last year, just like all of our guys, and he's very smart. But I think he feels more comfortable with the techniques that he's playing. And with him, I tell him, it's like cut it loose. And we have seen him make some plays here, He had a good week. I'm looking forward to his trajectory here as we get going.
You flashed the Friday's practice. You look at him just picking up where he left off at the beginning of camp last year and being that explosive defensive lineman.
Yeah, I do. He can affect the run and the pass. Johnny, he's got a really high ceiling. Got too close to the quarterback a couple times. I didn't like that. I told him about it, but there's no doubt his brand of ball. He can impact games, and we'll deploy him to do that.
Keitrell had a lot of opportunity when he was a rookie. Kind of changed a little bit last year as you guys updated the roster. Kind of where does he stand in his development? Do you like where he is?
I do like where he is. I really liked what he did the last 2 fast days. We had a conversation, all our players, but hey, what are you seeing? What do I need to work on? And when that matches up with what he says, that's from my eye, Nick's eye, Smitty's eye, Monty's eye, PT, Book, all those guys, that's typically a good thing. So he knows he's focused on what he needs to work on to improve his game. And he's another one he's going to get every opportunity to show us what he can do. I know what he can do. He can play good football.
Hey, JG.
How are we doing?
The increased competition you mentioned, perhaps the raised expectations from outside, the results will be in the spotlight probably more than ever with you guys here. How do you maintain the process-driven approach then, kind of heading into year 3 for you?
Focus on the process. block out external factors, be mentally trained, easy.
As you and Nick have continued to evolve your defense, is there anything that creatively sparks for you guys when you have to go against Trey McBride so often and all the different things that he can do, all the space that he can?
Nick, you better put 2 on him or he's going to wreck every practice. I can't do that all the time. Yeah, I know. Well, we're getting killed. Yeah, it does. I always say that's a really good question. There's more tools. Not to say one's harder than the other, but typically the numbers game of defense versus offense. There's more tools to take away receivers than there are tight ends, truthfully. Now, there's ways you can do it, but it's taken away from the structure typically of the defense. You know what I mean? But I'm glad we go against such a good player like that because we're going to see them. They're in our division. You know what I mean? They're all scattered throughout the league. And those guys can, it might not be as sexy as a receiver, but it can kill you. You know what I mean? When tight ends go off, it can kill you. And Trey's one of the guys that can beat you on first, second, third level, which makes him, really hard to defend. So it's good to go against that. It really is.
How's Jacoby Brissett looking, getting everything down?
Awesome. He's smart as they come, Bob. So been around a long time. He's played in a lot of systems. He's played in a version of this system, I would say, not this system, but played a version of this system. What's cool is some of our new guys, some of the things that I talk about with the team, he has heard some of those things because of Nick Sirianni when he was in Indianapolis. Frank Reich, we were both there. And I liked a lot of the stuff that Frank, what he coached, and Nick, what he coached. So he's heard a lot of that stuff. He smirks at me sometimes. But he's extremely smart, extremely intelligent. I think I thought he looked better this last 3 days than he did in OTAs, truthfully. He's playing well.
What sort of growth have you seen then from Clayton Tune to also
Yeah.
have somebody to go up with?
Yeah, footwork's pretty much, I think, 1 rep last practice is he used the wrong footwork and that he lost the down because of it, but his footwork's been consistent. I think he's playing faster. That's my thing with him, play faster, You see the free runner, you know where your answer is, get him the ball. You know what I mean? Don't wait to get hit, give him the ball. So I think he's processing faster. His footwork is better, and I think that's leading to him playing more on time and playing more and throwing the ball more accurately. So I'm pleased with all 3 of those guys.
How much of that is natural instincts versus something you could learn along the way?
Probably a blend of both. That's a good question, Zach. Probably a blend of both. But it's learning on the job, reps. You know what I mean? Iz does a really good job. He had a play the other day. It wasn't the exact same concept, but it was a similar concept and kind of a similar what you would coach the details of that play 2 years ago that happened that he missed on it and 3 days ago, I guess, our first fast day, hit on it. So it's there's the banking of reps, that you talk about. So that was cool to see.
What are your thoughts on Max Melton and Will Johnson and their ability to potentially step up into a larger role given these injuries?
Yeah, compete. That's what phase we're in right now. But Max was obviously drafted and played a lot where he was drafted. Played a lot of ball for us last year. Has a really high ceiling. And then Will, drafted where he was drafted. He's done some good things in spring and now, and it's just going to be like all our guys. How much better can you get every day?
With competition for an offensive lineman, is there ever a situation where you have one player who might be more advanced individually, but a different player who works well with those next to him if he's an interior spot, or typically if you have one player that's maybe higher up than someone else he's competing with, it's across the board?
Yeah, I would say the best 5 play. The best players, they can typically play with anybody. It's a good question, Danny, but there is communication and continuity that has to happen. The O-line is a wild room to sit in and listen to what's going on. Those guys are extremely intelligent. There's a lot going on with the offensive line, but I think that you got to be able to move people in the run game and protect the quarterback. So those guys, and do what you're coached to do and be on it as far as the details of scheme. But at the end of the day, can you move people vertically and horizontally in the run game and then keep the quarterback clean? That's what I'm looking for.
handful of times last season where Kyler and Marv were not on the same page. What could be done during camp to rectify that?
Yeah, reps. Put them in those situations and rep it so they both gain confidence and they both have an understanding. A lot of variables go into that, but my thing is reps so they can learn and grow.
How much you guys still feed off James Conner from the energy and tangible kind of perspective?
I feed off him a ton. So I think our team does as well. You know, his play style, it leads to that. You know, it looks good when he's running through people's faces. You know, guys get juiced about that.
Do you need players like that to like juice up teammates to have a play style that does it, or is it just a plus if you happen to have it?
Well, probably say you need it. Really do. You know, the we call it motor and violence, but guys that play extremely hard and guys that can out-hit their opponent, that typically brings some juice to your whole team.
What do you see out of Isaiah and Greg, and what do you want to see more out of that wide receiver 3 role?
Yeah, I mean, that's who makes plays. You know what I mean? It's been a good back and forth with those DBs right now. You know, G has made a bunch of plays, and then he made a play and got stripped the other day, you know. We've made a couple plays and then one on a slant and got it punched out. It's like, come on, man. You know what I mean? And they're both doing really well. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to point of attack for those guys and what roles they can carve out, get on the same page as the quarterback, you know what I mean, and fit in and do well and make plays for us, you know, because we're going to need them to. But I like where both of those guys are at.
Hayden Connor has been getting his snaps at center. Done a lot of this work so far. What's been the thinking with that?
Yeah, I mean, really for how he fits in with the whole room and then kind of our plan for the whole training camp, which, you know, I'm not going to lay that out for you, but he'll play both. We want to get him comfortable playing there, but then you'll see him kick into guards too. Good eye, Teo.
Coach, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.